Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video. And that's right, as was teased in the last review video, and I'm sure you guys figured it out because it was so obvious what I teased, and yep, because you read the title, you know exactly what it is that I'm reviewing. Yeah, I would say this one film is definitely one of Eddie Murphy's top, best films that he's done, comedic films, because that's what he usually does pretty much. And definitely in the 1980s, Eddie Murphy was going into high gear. I mean, ever since Trading Places and the first Beverly Hills Cop film really kicked him into high gear, and this being another one that kicked him into high gear some more, I guess you can say. So that's right, guys. I am finally reviewing from 1988, Coming to America. Yes, Coming to America. What can you say about Coming to America? It's definitely, again, I think, one of Eddie Murphy's top memorable and best comedy films, and a good one from the 1980s, definitely. Especially, since this came out in 1988, other great films came out that same year, and, near the end of the 1980s, definitely. Also, I would like to point out that my review of Coming to America is in memory of James Earl Jones. Yeah, obviously, of course, it has to be. So yeah. So the first things I have to say about Coming to America, well, I'm glad to have finally seen it because, I've been missing out on checking this out until now. One of those movies you sometimes never get around to, and for me, it was this, but now I've finally seen it, and yeah, it was fantastic. It did not disappoint. It was hilarious, and where the story was going, the casting, and with the characters of this movie, the performances from Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall, James Earl Jones, Samuel L. Jackson, the list goes on. And, this prince who comes from Africa and hiding who he is, his identity, that he's really, royal and he's a prince and his father is a king, hiding that from everyone where he travels, that of course being to America, and him going to New York City and going to Queens. So, him keeping a secret from everybody, and to whom he falls in love with, because he doesn't want everybody to know that he's royalty, because, it's obvious, and for our main character, he is just getting tired of living in this royal style, and just constantly everybody doing everything for him, even when he has to go to the bathroom. Talk about some privacy. Seriously, what's wrong with that? At least, people who are rich and such, they would at least have to have some privacy, like, using the bathroom and taking a shower or a bubble bath, whichever which. So it's understandable what our main character goes through. And when he travels to New York and where what awaits him, and yeah, I found myself enjoying this, and again, it did not disappoint for me. I really enjoyed it, and definitely it is a memorable film, and one of what I think, and I'm probably right, one of Eddie Murphy's top memorable and best films from his acting and film career. And not to mention, because not only did he star in this, but I think, I didn't see, because he might have been producer. I don't see why not. But this is his movie. He wrote this movie. Yeah, it's all Eddie Murphy. And even having his own company, and, of course, working alongside with Paramount, bringing this movie to life. So, yeah. But just overall, Coming to America, it was good. I really enjoyed it. All right, so as always, read the description / the story. Prince Akeem is the prince of a wealthy African country and wants for nothing except a wife who will love him in spite of his title. To escape an arranged marriage, Akeem flees to America, accompanied by his Persensikinity, if I'm saying that right, that one word right, his sidekick, Semi, I hope I am correctly saying his name right, to find his queen. Disguised as a foraging student, I'm sure I'm saying that right, working in fast food, he romances Lisa, but struggles with revealing his true identity to her and his martial intentions to his king father. Alright, so with that out of the way, and before I get into the movie itself, a little bit of background, as I sometimes do, because, well, like I said, this being all Eddie Murphy, this is his movie. He wrote it, and his production company, being involved in this, and, Paramount distributing and, bringing this movie to life. And, the director of Coming to America, well, Paramount at first was not too keen on considering him to direct Coming to America, and, well, Eddie Murphy had him in mind, and he wanted him specifically to direct it, no matter what, and if that meant, just fighting with the people at Paramount, and that, of course, being John Landis. Eddie Murphy, again, considering on having John Landis be the director of this movie, and only John Landis. I'm pretty sure, yeah, John Landis was the only director that Eddie had in mind. Well, not to mention, Eddie and John, they had been friends for quite a long time, but when it came up to Coming to America, they did not get along, sadly. Well, and this is especially after the infamous incident from the Twilight Zone movie. So, yeah. And because things were not looking too good for Eddie and John, if you know that story, John, feeling hurt that Eddie did not stand up for him and have his back and supporting him. And Paramount, well, because, how they felt on having John directing this. And, some movies that John was directing, some of them not doing so good. But that's not to say that, there were some movies that he directed, throughout the 1980s that weren't that bad. Like, well, one film that John and Eddie previously did, that of course being, Trading Places. Now, that was a pretty good one. And that was one of those movies that kicked Eddie into high gear, as I mentioned. So, yeah. But, John directing Coming to America, he did a pretty good job at it, so yeah. But that is, he did not like the final results of the movie. The pacing, the slow, and so on. And at one point, John considered on producing a director's cut version of Coming to America for a Blu-ray release of Coming to America, but Paramount, they refused because of how popular the movie was, and there was no reason to add or change anything. And, well, because I've seen this movie, and I heard about that, even while I was watching the movie, that John wanted to do a director's cut, I didn't see any problem with how the movie is, and its theatrical release, the final film. I'm just saying. But yeah. So there's some background for you. But, yeah, getting into the film itself, well, it's just like the Paramount logo that we see. It's just like, say, how it is with the Indiana Jones movies. The Paramount logo opening, and we see a mountain that looks exactly like the Paramount Mountain, and the camera panning away from it, and, the credits roll, and some, African music that we hear. To me, it sounded very similar, and I'm sure you guys would think the same thing, too. It sounded very similar to The Lion Sleeps Tonight. It does. Even I was kind of singing a little bit of The Lion Sleeps Tonight to go along with that African music that plays during the opening credits. But anyways, the African country and the royal palace where our main character lives, and, well, again, his father being the king, and the African country that our main character lives in is Zamunda, if I am saying that right. Again, bear with me. You know me sometimes, how I pronounce certain words and names. Zamunda, that sounds about right. So that's the name of this specific African country. And our main character, of course, being Prince Akeem, being played by the one and only Eddie Murphy. And, well, today is his 21st birthday. And, well, him being awoken by the servants, and also, he's like the top main cast member, because, you know, because some movies back then, how the credits were done, the cast in the order of their appearance. So one of the first characters that we see is Owa, if I am saying his name right, played by Paul Bates. Him awakening Prince Akeem, the servants attending to him, no matter what. And as I explained, from helping him put on his slippers, his nightgown, and so on, even when going to the bathroom. And seriously, he can do this alone. Privacy, please, especially for the bathroom, and even when he's being bathed. Well, and because this movie is R-rated, one of these rated R elements really shows, like, you know, this movie being R-rated, some topless people, like we see butt cheeks, we see boobs, and, you know, in the bathtub, and one woman who, you know, and mind you that the women that are in the royal bathtub washing and bathing Prince Akeem, the women are topless. And one of them that, you know, rises out of the water saying to Prince Akeem that his royal penis has been... God. If you know, you know by seeing this movie, but jeez. But not only is today his 21st birthday, he is to be married. And yeah, because it's one of those things, especially, you know, royal families and such, arranged marriage, that thing. Yeah, so his mother and father, the king and queen of Zamandu, I hope I'm still saying that right, they've arranged a wife for their son, and yeah, to go ahead and mention them, of course, the king and queen. The king, of course, being played by the late legendary James Earl Jones. He plays... if you've seen Coming to America's IMDb page, you know that the cast is how they're listed on its IMDb page random. I hate that. Okay, so James Earl Jones plays King Jafar, if I am saying that right, and the Queen Olean, I hope I'm saying that right, being played by the late Madge Sinclair. And by the way, after doing Coming to America, Earl Jones and Sinclair would work together again, once again playing a king and queen, this time voicing them. That, of course, being Mufasa and Sarabi in The Lion King. Yeah, talk about a big coincidence, and pretty much as of now, people making jokes and such, you know, with The Lion King and Coming to America. You know, not to mention, King Jafar has like a lion rug or something, you know, around his clothing, you know, that kind of thing. So there you go, that tops it off. So yeah, so again, the king and queen have arranged a marriage for their son, picking out his wife, and well, you know, poor Prince Akeem, he just does not like this, and telling his parents that, you know, he wants to do everything himself, you know, just go to the bathroom in private and, you know, take a bath and brush his teeth and all that. You know, not to mention, those who attend wiping Prince Akeem in the bathroom, they're called the Royal Wipers. Oh my gosh, of course they are. And we also get the introduction of Akeem's sidekick, and who sticks with him, like he's supposed to look after Akeem when they travel to America a little later on, Semi, being played by Arsenio Hall. Woo, 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 woo! I had to, because that being a signature from him and his talk show. You have to, sometimes. So yeah, Semi, He can be kind of a handful at times, especially some certain things that he does that, kind of piss off Akeem, but until we get there. And Semi and Akeem doing some workout training, and Akeem also sharing Semi how he feels and what's going on with him and such. Obviously, because, his birthday party happens, but also the arranged marriage and whom Akeem is going to marry. And right before his soon-to-be arranged bride shows up, there's a bit of a dance, almost like a 1 or 2 minute dance number, and this being an introduction for when his future bride steps in. Okay. Because we see his soon-to-be bride shows up, and that being that being Imani Izzy, I'm saying her name right, being played by Vanessa Bell Calloway. Yeah, so she is to be Akeem's soon-to-be wife, and at one point, because Owa, as his soon-to-be wife, walks her way to Prince Akeem, Owa just, behold your soon-to-be wife. However he sings it is funny, of course. Also because Akeem pointed this out, that he wants to know whom he would fall in love with, and, just not comfortable and just doesn't like the whole arranged marriage and, well, not getting to know whom the woman is that he would marry and such. He wants to know her, and that's what he does, and taking her to another room, and he wants to interact and talk with her, but her delivery to him, because the questions that he asks her, what is your favorite music? The music that you like. What's your favorite food? The food that you like. And just, oh my gosh. And then he asks her to do some strange things that, and yet she does them. Like, bark like a dog, or hop on one foot, and bark like a deep dog. And even when the king walks in, he's happy to see that they're getting to know one another. Just not looking good for poor Akeem. And what he wants to do next is he wants to get out of the country and travel and such. And the king is fine with this, and he thinks that this is because he wants he thinks that his son wants to sow his royal oats. Meaning, many sexual relationships practically when one is young. That's what it is. So, but, Akeem, that's not the case. But the king, again, he's fine with this, and he arranges for his son to leave the country, and, well, Akeem is going to make his way into the U.S. And, Semi is going to tag along with Akeem, and heads and tails, either they go to New York or Los Angeles. Heads, New York, tails, Los Angeles. And, well, the coin quarter lands on heads, and, well, thus they're making their way to New York and to Queens. So, by traveling to New York, and when they first arrive, well, because they're completely new strangers to the citizens of New York, and with the wardrobe they've got on, and the luggage they have, and when they make their way to Queens, and even when they get help from the taxi driver, on where to... which part of Queens to go to. Just going to the best place, to Queens, and basically the dirtiest place of Queens, just, rotten and such. And the cab driver being played by Jake Steinfeld. Yeah, Jake Steinfeld. Did I say Jack? I mean Jake Steinfeld. Yeah, so they arrive in Queens, and, well, for Akeem, he likes it, but Semi, not really. And it doesn't take too long, say, for their luggage to be stolen, and also when they first meet with their landlord, and, being credited and called as the landlord. The landlord being played by Frankie Fashion, if I'm saying his last name right, and Akeem wants a room that's, gross and so on, to his liking and how he wants to live. And as I mentioned, he wants to keep his royalty and him being a prince and such top secret from anybody in New York, no matter who he interacts with and so on. He's keeping it top secret. But kind of a big mistake, just a little, especially with one person in particular whom he falls in love with, but until I get to her. So yeah, they settle down in their apartment and such, and well, from there on, because them exploring Queens and New York and a local barbershop place, well, the main guy who's the barber named Clarence, and Clarence, his assistant, Morris, and Clarence and Morris. Clarence being played by Eddie Murphy, and Morris being played by Arsenio Hall. And if you guys knew this or not, any of you, for the first time having watched Coming to America, I wonder if it didn't take you that long to realize that Murphy and Hall, they play multiple characters. I mean, not a lot. Just like, say, because Arsenio Hall plays 4 characters. And Eddie Murphy, he plays... Okay, yeah, so each of them play 4 characters. In total, 4 characters in Coming to America. And obviously the same goes for, say, the film sequel. Because basically... this was inspired, the movie got inspired by Dr. Strangelove, because Peter Sellers, the late legendary Peter Sellers, playing multiple characters, instead of just one, that of course being the titled character. So, yeah. So there you go. Makes sense. Nice to see. And I assume as though that Eddie Murphy, being a fan of Peter Sellers, and, obviously, no doubt about it, loves Dr. Strangelove. Not to mention, James Earl Jones was in Dr. Strangelove. That actually was one of his first movies, as I recall, yeah. So he played a pilot. And if you guys know about James Earl Jones' appearance in Dr. Strangelove, so yeah. Anyways, so Clarence and Morris, we get the introduction of them. Also, another character, and I didn't realize this at first, and it's amazing, because with the amount of makeup put on Eddie Murphy, he plays an elderly Jewish customer at the barbershop place named Saul. Eddie Murphy plays him. I bet some of you didn't know that at first. We also get a cameo from a young Cuba Gooding Jr. He only appears for 1 second. He plays a boy getting a haircut. That's literally what he's titled. Just getting a haircut from Clarence. He has no speaking lines. Yeah, and obviously this is before Cuba Gooding Jr. went off, doing, big, having a big success with his acting career and such. So yeah. So the first introductions that Akeem and Akeem and his name Semi, yeah, his name almost slipped out of my head. Their first interactions with the barbershop people, pretty funny, and and again, just them, exploring New York some more, and they blend in by buying some New York clothes, and they can see that the luggage was stolen, and multiple people have what was in their luggage and such, but Akeem, he's okay with this. And besides, they have plenty of money in their pockets, so, because obviously they were given a ton of money when they would make their destination to New York, so yeah. So they get some New York clothes, and they go to this local bar where Akeem tries to find his future bride. Doesn't go too well at first. There are a couple of twins and a couple of women that just, how their personalities are. There's even one gal that Arsenio Hall plays. Extremely ugly girl. Yeah. Sitting right next to Akeem. It's so funny. I wonder how hard they tried not laughing, especially that goes for Eddie Murphy. I'm sure that some of the cast, some of the crew members were laughing off camera, obviously, and just Arsenio Hall, him playing the extremely ugly girl, a fitting name for that character, so, and to know whom it is. So things don't go too well, basically, at the bar. Then they, later that evening, they, meet up with, they come face to face / run into Clarence once again, and Clarence is in on what was going on with Akeem and such, and he recommends both to Akeem and Semi that they should come to the Black Awareness rally, and it's also a pageant and such. Just so much going on at this event. Pageant girls, this band that plays, and a reverend that's there being played by Arsenio Hall. He's named Reverend Brown, and a lead singer that sings while the band plays, Randy Watson, and Randy Watson being played by Eddie Murphy. So again, total of 4 characters that both Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, each of them, play. So there we go. We have our 4 characters that Murphy and Hall play. And yeah, again, just crazy things happening while this rally goes on. However, we soon get the introduction of our other main characters, the McDowells. Mr. McDowell, Cleo McDowell, yeah, there he is, being played by the one and only John Amos, if I am saying his last name correctly, and his 2 daughters, Patricia McDowell, being played by Allison Dean, and Lisa McDowell, being played by Sherry Headley. And it doesn't take too long for Akeem to lay his eyes on Lisa. Although, however, unfortunately, Lisa already has a boyfriend, and that being Daryl Jenks, being played by Eric LaSalle, if I am saying his full name right, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so even I knew when the first, I knew this, and the first shot we get of Daryl and eye contact between Daryl and Lisa, I knew right away, and I'm sure some of you did too. But, of course, Akeem didn't know at first, until a little bit later. And, Lisa, it's her turn to be up on stage, and she gives this very nice, well-put speech, because, again, at this Black Awareness rally and such, but also there's a pageant going on. Cleo McDowell and his daughters, they happen to have a family business, a restaurant business, being called McDowell's. Yeah, does that not ring a bell? It's so obvious. Even I, before watching this movie, I knew a little of McDowell's, and I was thinking, is this not McDonald's or something? And how the movie establishes this, and especially coming straight from Cleo, well, because Akeem, he is interested in Lisa, and thankfully, he hears the information and address on where to find Lisa McDowell and so on, and that basically being the McDowell's restaurant. And immediately, and when we see Akeem and Semi in the next scene, well, they apparently applied for jobs at McDowell's, and Cleo giving them a little bit of a tour and talking to them about, the family restaurant business and, the difference between McDowell's and McDonald's. Well, Cleo makes it very clear on the differences between both restaurants, because, McDonald's has arches, but, McDowell's is different, and the menu of food that they have, very different from one another. So, that's nice to see, and not, being an exact, McDonald's wannabe and ripoff and such, And, even though that the, both restaurants, fast food restaurants, have almost the same kind of exact logo, just about. I mean, there is a slight difference with the McDowell's restaurant logo, but yeah. Even the employee wardrobes not being quite similar to how the old, McDonald's employee outfits looked and such, but yeah. And one of the employees that we get a good chunk of at times, again, one of the McDowell employees that Akeem and Semi sometimes interact with, Maurice, being played by Louis Anderson. Yes, so he plays Maurice, one of the McDowell employees. And again, Cleo giving a tour for Akeem and Semi, and of course, soon enough, they are hired, and what they're basically doing, their jobs, is being janitors. And Akeem not immediately getting used to working a bucket. And, well, because he's now an employee at McDowell's, getting close and wanting to get to know Lisa some more, it doesn't go too well at first. I mean, nothing that bad or creepy, and from what I can tell from the character of Lisa, but still, sadly, Lisa already having a boyfriend, that being Daryl, and you can immediately tell, maybe some of you can, that, well, Daryl, he is quite wealthy and rich and such, and Lisa's father likes Daryl, and Daryl is happy that his daughter is in a relationship with a wealthy and rich guy and such. But Lisa, and from what I can tell, Lisa doesn't really care for that, at least. I mean, she is in love with Daryl for a while, but as the movie proceeds on, and the more she gets to know and interact with Akeem some more, and to speed things up, because, yeah, what goes on with Akeem and, with him trying to get to know Lisa some more, well, because, there's one moment where, anonymously, Lisa receives some very beautiful earrings, very expensive earrings, and clearly Akima bought them for her, and even leaving a note for Lisa that, yeah, this is not Daryl, it's not Daryl's doing, it's someone who, respects Lisa, and so on, yeah. So, an anonymous note and gift to her, and she doesn't know at first that it's Akeem that bought her those very beautiful, expensive earrings. And Patrice, Lisa's sister, gosh, because her being a little bit of a handful too at times, and she has a crush on Akeem, but Akeem, obviously, he's not interested in Patrice. And also, there's one moment where Akeem tries to interact with Lisa's father, his boss, talking about football and such, and Cleo's response, as the conversation finishes, saying that if you want to keep up this job, lay off the drugs. But he's not on drugs. So that's how he's interacting. That's his personality and how he speaks, and with his smile. But he doesn't know that, of course, for a while. And again, the more that Lisa gets to interact and know Akeem some more, well, there's one moment in the film where Akeem is invited alongside with her sister, and Daryl to a basketball game. Getting my sports mixed up. Basketball. They go to a basketball game. And, well, just awkward things that happen while at the baseball game. Patrice, having a crush on and a liking to Akeem, and when Akeem, because he's not used to basketball that much, and even when at one point he takes off his jacket and lays it on his lap, Patrice sliding her hand underneath his jacket and going for his, I'm sure you know what it is, and I'm just going to leave it at that. An adult joke, of course. So yeah, you know what, I'm pretty sure, no doubt about it, that maybe one or two PG movies would have that kind of joke. There's some stuff like that, of course there is, for movies like that in the 1980s and 90s, so it's obvious. So, and yeah, even Akeem just making an excuse, and for that to stop, what Patrice is doing, just shouting and such, and he makes his way to the bathroom, and while he's in line, because there's a long line getting into the men's room, a basketball game vendor, yeah, notices and recognizes Akeem. Well, because this basketball game vendor, if I'm pronouncing it right, even, yeah, he comes from the same country as Akeem. He knows that Akeem is the prince. And the basketball game vendor, being played by Vondi Curtis Hall, just how excited he is to see the prince, bowing to him and so on. And Akeem just trying his best to keep his royalty and him being a prince top secret from everybody, and just how awkward it is for him. And the basketball game vendor asking for his picture, and Lisa and Daryl happen to, approach Akeem as this is happening, and they're confused and speechless by this. I don't blame them. Yeah, just very awkward and embarrassing for Akeem. But little do Lisa and Daryl and the others know at first. So, yeah. So after that, because, yeah, that was a thing that happened at the basketball game. But I think at the same time, it went well, and for Lisa and Akeem and such, but, then one, I guess you could say memorable moment that happens, because, Akeem and Semi still working at McDowell's, and by the way, did I forget to mention that them traveling to America, a 40-day journey / trip to New York. So, as the movie proceeds, the days are going by, of course, and up until when 40 days is up, their time at New York and such, and at Queens. Well, anyways, so one memorable moment that happens because an appearance from, a hold-up man, shows up at McDowell's, whips out a rifle, and it's Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, we get a cameo of Samuel L. Jackson, although I guess you could say cameo, because, Samuel L. Jackson, he was, by that point, I think, wasn't really going that big, I think so, just, and this is before, say, Pulp Fiction and what else he would do after, coming to America, from Jurassic Park, Pulp Fiction, The Phantom Menace, need I go on. So before all that, he was in Coming to America, you get my point. So again, he plays the hold-up man, whips out a rifle, and, is about to rob McDowell's, the cash register, and poor Maurice, whipping out the money, and, even before the hold-up man started this, Akeem interacting and talking with Lisa some more, and, this being after the basketball game they went to, and after, a conversation happened between Daryl and Lisa. Daryl stepped away, and Lisa spotted Akeem, had him come over to take a break, and for them to talk some more, and that's when the hold-up man shows up, and, slowly but surely, Akeem is about to take down the hold-up man, and even Semi getting involved in this because, where they come from, being very skillful fighters and so on, and Akeem taking part of the mop off and going to use it as a weapon on the hold-up man, and him interacting and negotiating with the hold-up man very gently and kindly. But then, of course, things escalating quickly, and, thus he takes down the hold-up man. Semi gets a hold of the hold-up man's gun, and the insult that Semi gives to him, rhinoceros pisla, or however he says it, and so the hold-up man is defeated. And Cleo congratulating and thanking both Akeem and Semi for what they did, a heroic thing they did saving McDowell's. And apparently, according to Cleo, that was the 5th time that the hold-up man came to McDowell's. And it's like, why didn't they call the police if that was going on 5 times? I mean, it's one of those things, and it's so obvious that you guys would think of the same way too, and that, of course, going for me, because it is obvious. Why did they not call the police? Okay, but anyway, so because of their heroic part, taking down the hold-up man, Cleo has them come up to, his and his daughter's family house and such, and it seems like, something big is coming for them or something, but basically, he has them, stand right outside the entrance of the house, waiting for guests to come to the house, and preceding them on, just greeting them, in red, suits and such. However, at one point, Cleo has Akeem come up come inside of the house and showing him around the house some and so on. Just, yeah, being nice to Akeem a little. So, yeah. And, well, because, you know, a party happens at the McDowell's residence house and such, well, you know, because, like, say, the Reverend Brown is there, as well as, of course, you know, the McDowell sisters and Daryl's mother, father, and grandmother, and Daryl's parents and grandmother, because because the party guests, some of the party guests being uncredited, and so, and some of the Black Awareness event people, you know, them being uncredited, but so again, Daryl's mother, father, and grandmother being there, and because surely because they would be I saw them, yeah. So Mr. Jenks being played by Arthur Adams, Mrs. Jenks being played by Lonnie K. Harkless, and Grandma Jenks being played by Monstrose Hagens, if I'm saying her first name right. So they're there, and little do everybody know, but that is only Cleo and Daryl know this, but nobody else does. Apparently, this is an engagement party, because Daryl popping the question to Lisa, and we can immediately see and tell that Lisa is not pleased with this, because, well, Daryl didn't even pop the question to Lisa, literally, and she's unhappy with this, and, you know, unhappily, you know, having a conversation with Daryl, and it did not last long, and just her storming out, and yeah, this came out of nowhere for her, and, you know, and again, as I mentioned, you know, Cleo liking Daryl, and he's happy to see that, well, her daughter being in a relationship with a wealthy guy, and so on. And then, after that, well, because Lisa outside, I think in the backyard, and there's a swing set, Akeem attending to Lisa, you know, like offering her a drink, and, you know, she'll pass, and, you know, having Akeem sit down on the other swing, and, well, her wanting to getting to know Akeem some more, and what she has so far seen in Akeem, and what he's like and such, unlike what, you know, Daryl is, and so on. Okay, and to speed things up, because, well, the next day, you know, Akeem trying to wake up and get Semi out of bed, but Semi, he is not going to work. He's about had it, and Akeem just, you know, not fond of Semi's attitude and such, and telling Semi that, you know, if he wants to, you know, fix up the place, then go ahead, you know, the apartment that they're staying in, this, you know, crappy apartment and so on. But little does Akeem know with what he recommended to Semi, because, well, later that day, and yeah, because after work and such, well, and Semi was there, you know, he was at work, and also Maurice. Good on Maurice, because he is slowly but surely making it up there, because now he's in the kitchen washing some, you know, lettuce and so on, and talking about how further he'll go and such. And after that, well, and a little bit later, because Akeem going out with Lisa, and thus they start to go out, you know, have a date, and getting to know each other some more, and later that evening, as, you know, they take a stroll. But actually, before they did, because, well, before they took a stroll in the evening time and going out to eat, they were first going to eat at home, and, well, specifically at Akeem's apartment. And Lisa, very sweet of Lisa, she didn't care if where he was staying at would be crappy looking and so on. So that was sweet of her. And she also says that, you know, she'll buy the food and groceries for dinner, and thus they do. And as they've made their way back to where Akeem is staying at, well, because when he first opens the door, God, because with what he said to Semi, fixing up the apartment, well, he for sure did. He spent a lot of money getting some nice, cool-looking stuff for the apartment, and looking like a really cool apartment and so on. Just really did it. And Akeem does not want Lisa to go in because of what's in there and because of what he told her, that, you know, it being a crappy apartment, and making an excuse that there's a big rat in there, but, you know, and it goes pretty well, and for Lisa, and thus, yeah, that's when they, this time, an alternative plan to take a stroll for the evening and eat out. Yeah, so thus they do, and before they go to a restaurant and such, well, at one point, Akeem spots a homeless guy and gives him a lot of money, and apparently, this homeless guy, you know, he gets the attention of another homeless guy, and I didn't really know this until I did my research while watching the movie, because apparently these two homeless guys, being played by the late Don Ameche, if I'm even saying his last name right, and the late Ralph Bellamy, if I'm getting both of their last names, if I'm mispronouncing each of their last names wrong, just, again, you know me sometimes, but I'm sure you know who I'm talking about, because, well, they apparently reprised their roles as the Duke brothers from Trading Places, another John Landis film, and which also starred Eddie Murphy. Same characters, the Duke brothers, who were the main antagonists of Trading Places. Yeah, Mortimer Duke and Randolph Duke. Don plays Mortimer, and Ralph plays Randolph Duke. Yeah, and the fact that in no way is Coming to America canon and connected with Trading Places, but I guess this is like an I guess you could say this is another version of Mortimer and Duke, of the Duke brothers, where they lost their big jobs, business company, you know, whatever, and, well, when Akeem lended them a lot of money, and one of them saying to the other, "We're back in business," like, yeah. And fun fact, apparently John Landis didn't like this idea of a cameo of the Duke brothers, for a reason and such, and if you know about this, and apparently there was a fight that happened between John Landis and a producer, but, however, Eddie Murphy liked the idea, and thus, the idea of there being a cameo from the Duke brothers, and the same actors who played the Duke brothers reprising the roles, it was and is in the final movie, and it's because of Eddie Murphy, because, again, he liked that idea. And, you know, not to mention, because I guess, like, this being kind of a fourth wall breaking, well, because from what I read, and John Landis had done some fourth wall breaking stuff in some of his movies, so I don't know, like, what was wrong with that? I mean, it's a funny cameo, and it's one of those things, just, I don't know, but it is funny. And as I said, I'm guessing probably they're just another versions of the Duke brothers where, you know, as I explained, you know, so Akeem and Lisa going to a restaurant, and we once again see the Duke brothers, you know, knocking on the window, you know, "Thank you," and, like, "Let's see each other again," and so on. It was pretty funny. And after that, well, then at one point, apparently, Lisa's sister Patrice is on to Akeem and Semi, finding out the information and truth about them, and, well, her showing up at their apartment and, you know, confronting Semi, and, well, it doesn't take too long for, say, Semi and Patrice to get together and such, so, and apparently, yeah, Semi claims that he's the prince, because Patrice finds out and so on, and, well, Semi claims that he's the prince, so, yeah. And so, yeah, and to speed things up still, because, yeah, everything goes well for Lisa and Akeem. The date went pretty well, and even when, still at the restaurant, they then do a slow dance, and, well, Lisa asking Akeem, "What about Patricia?" And, you know, Akeem, you know, clearly, and he establishes and makes it clear to Lisa that he has no interest in his sister. And when then Lisa mentions Daryl, funnily, you know, Akeem, I don't think he didn't quite get it, you know, him saying that he's not interested in Daryl, so, not what she meant, but yeah. And thus, they kiss. yeah, so everything went pretty well for them. Also, more on Semi, because by this point, he's about had enough, and he sends a telegram to back at the African country to inform Akeem's royal father and mother. So, yeah. Yeah, because, and to mention some of the other characters, like, that don't have that much big, roles in this, because, yeah, there was, Face on Cutting Room Floor, literally that's what his name is, being played by Jim Abrams. There was also, Carter Delivery Man, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm saying that word right, being played by David Sosina, pretty sure. There was also Awareness Women being played by Mendora Mims and Cynthia Finkley, if I'm getting that right. And, there's also Sugar Q being played by Vanessa Colin, Strange Woman being played by June Boykins, Fresh Peaches being played by Janet Colin, and some of the servants, but, anyway, so again, Semi sending a telegram, and, doesn't take too long for the royal, father and mother to arrive, and with motorcycle policemen, escorting them, and yeah, because, again, they soon but surely arrive, and when, 40 days have reached up and such, and, the king and queen in search of their son, and because they got the telegram, and, things going well, but still, things going really well for Lisa and Akeem, and even when the first date went so well, and this is before his parents arrived, he is singing in the streets when making his way back to the apartment, and a couple of times, because this happened earlier, and once again, because, the people in that street and the local neighbors shouting at him and saying, "Shut the F up," and so on. And, we do get a handful of F-bombs and foul language in this, and hence, with this movie having an R rating and such, so, yeah. From that and the topless scenes and so on, and some very, sexual jokes and such, but, yeah, as I mentioned, where Patrice, puts her hand, under his jacket, anyways. So, and when he makes his way back to the apartment, he can see where Patrice showed up, and, because they were making out a bit. Patrice and Semi on a waterbed, because, Semi got a waterbed, and, Patrice knowing the truth and so on, and, because she thinks that Semi is the prince, while Akeem is the servant, and Akeem, not being pleased with Semi and such. So again, the royal king and queen, the parents of Akeem, they show up, as well as Owa and the flower girls, they all show up. Like, they first go to the barbershop place where they interact a little with Clarence, just knowing the location of where his son is, the king, and then going to the apartment building, and, apparently, because Akeem asked the landlord if they can have another apartment, and because of Lisa, where Akeem can show Lisa that he does live in a crappy apartment, so the landlord, he takes the apartment that they were living in, that's all nice looking and such, and while they take the landlord's apartment, being a shithole, as he says. It's true, and what he says, pardon my French, but to quote what he said. So yeah, again, when the king and the queen, we only see the king at first, making their way inside the apartment building, and coming to the apartment room, and what Clarence and the others at the barbershop informed the king where he was at, by that point, he was not there anymore, and the landlord being in that apartment and in the hot tub, and the king notices, a photo of his son, employee of the month, and he is just flabbergasted, my son works, and, still, the hunt is on, trying to find their son, and, the king then comes to Semi, when he first opens the door, finally closes the door, then he opens it to take a moment, because that's an understandable reaction. And opening the door again, and, well, the king interrogating Semi and just where Akeem is, and he assures and addresses to the king that Akeem would not listen to him, and just roaming and walking around New York and so on, and he met someone, and the king is just upset by this. And there's one moment where we see Akeem and Lisa at this museum, and in one part of the museum is stuff from the African country where Akeem comes from, because it was mentioned early on where Akeem comes from. And even when he lied to Lisa and the others that he goes to a university in New York and such, yeah. And trying to hide and not have Lisa see some certain things where his face is shown on a picture and so on. A picture of him and his royal mother and father, so yeah. Well, still, them trying to find Akeem, and even the king had Semi be placed in a fancy hotel, and and his punishment basically just being, bathed by servants, and, well, that's not really much of a punishment for him. That's more of a liking to him. So yeah. Then the king and queen, they make their way to McDowell's, meeting with Cleo, and, well, the word is spread, and Cleo finds out that the employee of the month is a prince, and his family is royalty, and Cleo likes this. He likes this. He was even on a phone call with Daryl, wanting Daryl to come over to the house and such, on a hamburger phone. And even, he had, some McDonald's a book or something that has McDonald's to it. What exactly is that for specifically, to what he's doing? Who knows? But, if you know, you know. So Cleo, again, happy to find out that Akeem is royalty, and he's rich and such, to his liking. And, well, Akeem and Lisa, after they take a taxi back to where Akeem is staying at, he can see the flowers that were dropped, and it doesn't take him that long to quickly realize and to figure out his mother and father are here. Yeah, does not look good, and just trying to hide this from Lisa, and just saying that they, can't go back into the apartment and so on, and, just this time just going straight back to her home and such, and thus they do. Cleo, being happy that, finding out that Akeem is royalty and such and rich, having him stay, and, this time being really nice to him. And even when Daryl showed up, just Cleo being rude and mean to Daryl, just closing the door on him a couple of times, and even when Daryl was knocking on the door constantly. And this time, because Cleo has the family dog, Dottie. Dottie being played by Dottie, yeah, so almost forgot to mention, and could not forget to mention, that there is a family dog. It's a white dog named Dottie. Cleo orders Dottie to attack on and to shoo away Daryl, and that's what happens. So yeah, and we do see Daryl a little bit later on, but yeah, and just Lisa just totally confused by what is going on, and for Akeem, he can't stay that long. He really has to get going, and because of what's going on, his family is in search for him and so on. And Lisa is just determined and just so confused on what's going on. She wants to know what the hell is going on, pardon my French, but it's true, and just having her daddy tell her what's going on, and thus he informs her daughter that all this time that Akeem, is a part of a royal family, and he's rich and such. And technically, yeah, because we get, it's obvious, we get a liar reveal thing that happens. But, I think this was done okay, I think, because how some people feel about liar reveal stuff, sometimes they can turn out pretty good, and if they're done in a specific way, that is okay with some people. But for me, I didn't think it was that bad, but it was, upsetting at first, and, you just have one of those moments just like, oh my gosh, But you would know, of course, that in movies that have that stuff, things would turn out better at the end. So, yeah. So yeah, she now knows, and when the wire reveal happens, a storm hits. And, well, at one point, Akeem, found and located Semi, and, well, because, him being upset with Semi and so on, and knowing that the royal family is here and such, and, well, Cleo, he contacted the king that Akeem was at his house, and, they immediately headed straight to Cleo's house. They showed up, and, the king meets with Lisa for the first time and tells her the truth that, Akeem was to be married to a wife that they picked for their son, and mentioning to Lisa about what, the king thought, what his son wanted to do, sow his royal oats and such. And Lisa, by this point, she's completely hurt by this. She's heartbroken, and she just wants to get out of here, and just, yeah. And even, she meets the queen for the first time and is concerned for Lisa. Are you okay, my dear? And just, she just how upset she is. She's done, and just, she leaves the house, and Cleo just, wondering what the king said to his daughter. And this is when things get out of hand, because slowly but surely, Cleo does not like what the king is saying about his daughter and so on, and sets the king straight about his daughter and because of Akeem. And then Akeem and Semi show up, and, Akeem obviously finding out that Lisa had left and what his father said to her. And when Patrice showed up, because her saying that Semi is the prince and him being the servant, and the king like, who told you that? And all eyes are turned on Semi, because he started this, saying that he's the prince, but, and Akeem just unhappy with what his father said to Lisa, and very nice and, very thoughtful on Akeem's mother's part, the queen, because she can see and tell and sense that her son is in love with that girl, and which of course being Lisa, and she encourages her son to go after her, and thus he does. The king just telling him that, I forbid you, and the queen setting her husband straight, put a sock in it, he's in love with that girl, and he has fallen in love with whom he was trying to find all this time. For the first time ever, Akeem actually found true love. And instead of that whole bullcrap arranged marriage thing that was going on back at, the African country and such. Jeez. And still, it's still raining. And also, at one point, Daryl showed up and met with Patrice, and it seems like Patrice is wanting to go out with Daryl and is kind of flirting with him, and if so, because that's kind of the last time we see them and in this movie, but anyways. So Akeem trying to chase down and find Lisa, he does find her, because she was about to make her way down to the subway station, and Akeem going after her, and with no need of assistance from Oa, because, with having an umbrella over him, because he can do this himself, and thus that's what he does. Going down to the subway station, catching up to her, getting on, just in time, getting on the subway train that she's on, and just, assuring her and trying to talk with her and apologize to her for lying all this time on who he really is. But he addresses to her that, she has fallen in love with whom she met, with Akeem and such. Like, minus his side of being a part of a royal family and so on, okay? Like, she has been and has gotten to know who Akeem really is. See? And, yeah, but with just how upset she is, and even when she, of course, finds out that, yeah, those very expensive, beautiful earrings, they came from him, giving them back to him, a good catch, because she threw them at him and catch them pretty good. And some of the subway people, like there's a subway guy being played by Steve White, subway lady being played by Helen Hanft, and elderly passenger being played by Birdie M. Hale. Also, telegraph lady, forgot to mention her, because, yeah, telegraph lady being played by Elaine Kagan, if I'm saying her last name right, but yeah. And basically Akeem makes an announcement that he will give up the royal throne and everything, all for Lisa. And like the subway passengers, they don't really say anything. However, some of them do encourage Lisa to, you know, marry Akeem when he asks her to marry him and such. But with how upset she is, she's done. She wants nothing to do. And then at one moment, the elderly passenger turns to Akeem and says, "I'll marry you." But Akeem, well, all he does is just give the elderly passenger, very nice of him, those, you know, beautiful, expensive earrings. And, well, he stays on board the subway train, and the subway train proceeds on. And so, sadly, by this point, it's now, sadly, time to go home. Poor Akeem, where it seems like that this time for sure that, yeah, he has lost the girl that he has truly fallen in love with, and, well, because, you know, whom he really is was revealed, but, you know, for who he is and, you know, all that time that he and Lisa spent, that's who he really is, and that's whom Lisa got to know truly, minus the side of, you know, him coming from a royal family and being a prince, you know? And besides, like, you know, when she found out from the king that, you know, he was going to be married, and the king did establish to Lisa that, you know, they had picked their son's wife and such. So, you know, Akeem had nothing to do with it, of course. Surely she would have known. But anyways, so, yeah, all of them heading back home, and, well, back at, you know, the palace and such, well, the wedding is about to happen. It begins, and assuming that, yeah, Akeem is still going to marry the bride that, the king and the others had arranged for their son to marry. We don't see her face through the dress and, well, because with what's over her, yet, but, yeah, the wedding proceeds, but, then, slowly but surely, we see when, the face of the bride is revealed when Prince Akeem lifts it up, you know, because what's part of the wedding dress? Well, surprisingly, it's Lisa. Lisa is now about to marry Akeem. How did this happen? How? In what way? Well, it's obvious and it's assuming, because, well, there was one scene as they were disembarking New York and making their way back to Africa. Well, a moment between the king and queen. The queen was not happy with her husband and what just happened, and, you know, setting her husband straight that maybe the law should be changed because, you know, the whole, like, wedding and marriage thing and such. And somehow the king went along with this, and he was convinced, and thanks to the queen. Hey, you don't mess with the queen. Definitely not. Especially with the queen in this movie. Oh, yeah. So clearly, because, yeah, with her and the king, and also, clearly, he would have been in on this too. Cleo is at the wedding too. Yeah, seeing his daughter be married to Akeem, and now whom, you know, he's come to really like and such. Cleo liking Akeem a lot, just, yeah. And, well, Akeem and Lisa, they immediately kiss, and even when it, like, that wasn't supposed to come up yet, and, Owa telling Akeem that part hasn't come up yet. But by this point, who cares, you know? And thus, they're now married, and thus, you know, they're going to have their honeymoon being driven off as everybody is celebrating. And we see the bride whom, yeah, it is her, I'm pretty sure, yeah, because the bride whom originally was going to be married to Akeem, we see her again, and she was standing right next to Semi, and it looks like they might hook up. Pretty much, yeah. And last bit of dialogue from both Akeem and Lisa, because Akeem is still willing to, give up the royal throne and all of it, but Lisa, nah, as she says, she's perfectly okay with it, and not in a greedy way or anything like that, because, well, true love, that's what matters to them, and that's what does matter, okay? That's what matters the most. Yeah, true love is very important, and that's nice to see what this movie did and what it brought, with true love and the two coming together. It was really well done. And yeah, that's how the movie ends. And the end credits, starting off with the cast, and then we get one last scene with Saul having a funny moment, and yeah, so he technically gets the last line of the movie, and thus that's how the movie ends. The credits proceed on, and yeah, a great and funny way to end the movie right there. Coming to America, yeah, just again, what a great movie this was, comedy film, and coming straight from Eddie Murphy. And again, I'm pretty sure I'm right. Coming to America being one of Eddie Murphy's top, best, memorable films from his acting/film career. Just, yeah, the story was really good. The characters and the casting and the music and score, really good too. The funny and emotional moments and moments where you're just like, oh my gosh, just, yeah. And with the romance that happens in this, from Akeem and Lisa, really well done. Yeah, and with true love in this movie, and yeah, and again, just it was done really good, and seen as how this is a comedy film, and sometimes, funny movies can have really good stuff to them, like if it's true love and a romantic story. Just, yeah. I mean, take, for example, most notably, Shrek 2, but also the first Shrek film. Take that, for example. Okay, so, yeah. And yeah, just the funny moments from Eddie Murphy, and, the fact that both Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, they play multiple characters instead of just one, each of them. And, for the rest of the cast of characters, like James Earl Jones and Samuel L. Jackson, Madge Sinclair, and also John Amos, Shari Headley, Louis Anderson, and all the others. Yeah, they were all fantastic. Yeah, just everything about Coming to America was really good, and it did not disappoint for me. So, yeah. And I'm giving Coming to America, it's on my mind. I'm giving Coming to America 10 out of 10 stars. Yes, 10 out of 10 stars for Coming to America. Again, just what a great, memorable comedy film coming straight from the one and only Eddie Murphy, not only starring in it, but writing, and I'm pretty sure, he was producer of this. I think it's obvious. Yeah, just, yeah, this is all Eddie Murphy. This is his movie, and yeah, it was a good one. And what about you guys? What did you think of Coming to America itself? Is it one of your favorite movies of Eddie Murphy? Did you enjoy the first Coming to America film, what the story had to offer, the romantic story that was in this, the hilarious moments where you're just like, oh my gosh, and just things that you did not see coming, and the emotional stuff, because the emotional stuff was pretty good too. What did you think on that as well? Did any of you maybe shed a tear or something, and what was going on in this movie? Who were some of your favorite cast of characters, and the fact that, again, Murphy and Hall, they played multiple characters in this, and if any of you if it didn't take you that long to realize that some characters were being played by Murphy and Hall, just, yeah. But just, yeah, overall, what did you think of Coming to America itself, and with what I've had to say, and with my review, and yeah, what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And with that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Coming to America. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video. review. And stay tuned because the next film I'm going to be reviewing, well, let's just say that the late Bruce Lee, his son, plays the titled character. I'm pretty sure you know exactly what it is. Again, stay tuned for that. Take care, and until coming to America, peace out, and rest in peace, James Earl Jones.